What's a really awkward situation that everyone can relate with?
Silent scan.
Someone trying to initiate a handshake after you've just washed your hands. It's either a few awkward seconds of quickly drying your hands on your jeans or shaking their hand anyway and seeing the discomfort in their eyes.
Silent scan.
Saying hello or how are you to somebody and getting 100% ignored. Worse when someone else you know is there too and notices you getting ignored. That's when I just say good talk. Helps me feel like I save face just a bit. Guess I'll just go fuck myself.
Silent scan.
Having your stomach rumble in the middle of a quiet class/meeting edit, both in college and at store meetings. My go-to cover up strategy was to furiously flip through pages of notes to try and drown it out.
Silent scan.
When you've had multiple interactions with someone, but you can't remember their name, but it's gone too far to admit you've forgotten it, so you just have to call them love or mate forever. I met this guy in my math class at the beginning of the semester and I never caught his name. We became friends and now it's the end of the semester and I still don't know his name, not sure how to ask.
Silent scan.
Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's mother starts yelling at your friend. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's father walks in only wearing underwear.
Silent scan.
Watching a sex scene with your parents. Visited my aunt and uncle 7 years ago and we were hanging out watching TV. My uncle clicks through channels and stops on Herald and Humor Escape from Guantanamo Bay. Within minutes it's the shaved pussy party scene. My aunt and uncle sit there in silence watching, not saying anything until the scene is over while I sweat bullets. If you put an acorn between my butt cheeks I could have cracked it. A few months ago I visit again. Uncle flips through channels. It's Starship Troopers. Within minutes it's a sex scene and the boobies are out. I'm not visiting anymore.
Silent scan.
When you think someone waves at you, so you wave back, but they were waving at someone behind you.
Silent scan.
When you're finishing up at the checkout and the cashier puts the notes on top of the receipt and then coins on top of that. Then the next person steps up and you're fumbling, trying to disassemble the stack in your hand, gather your shopping, say thanks and move away at the same time.
Silent scan.
The fake smile on your face when you receive a terrible gift. Wanted the Smash Mouth CD with All Star on it when I was a kid. My aunt wound up getting me the Len CD with Steal My Sunshine on it. Apparently I hadn't heard the song yet back then, even though it was all over the radio. My disappointment was immeasurable and my day was ruined. I faked a half smile. Decades later I love Steal My Sunshine and I should have been happy.
Silent scan.
When you reply to a stranger who says hello, but then realize they were on the phone and not speaking to you. Happened to me just yesterday and I didn't get any sleep last night as I couldn't stop reliving the moment.
Silent scan.
When you're saying goodbye to someone and then you both end up walking in the same direction. Or when you turn and walk into a wall with people watching.
Silent scan.
When you're having a conversation with someone and you don't hear what they say, so you ask them to repeat and they do. But you still don't hear it and ask them to repeat again and they do. And you still don't know what they said. Do you ask them to repeat again and maybe still not hear it? Pretend you heard it and nod your head and hope it's an appropriate response? Stab yourself in the eye with a pen to create a diversion and change the subject?
Silent scan.
When you're walking past coworker and you've already said hello earlier. Everyone's making that weird flat smile. That walk down a long hallway toward each other where you've clearly seen the other person, but they are too far away to say something, so you do the awkward look around until you get close enough to say hey and keep walking.
Silent scan.
Standing there while two people talk about something you don't know about. Even worse when you're wanting to leave the conversation, but feel like you need to have an excuse to leave. I have to poop and giggle. Let them figure out which is more awkward.
Silent scan.
When you try to contribute to a conversation and someone cuts you off multiple times. and you patiently wait for your turn to speak, even though it already was, but by the time the air is clear, the subject has already changed, and what you were going to say is now irrelevant. I used to be a habitual cutter offer. When I was younger I wasn't trying to be rude, I was just excited for what I had to say. I've reformed that behavior now, but if I notice this happening to someone else, I'll make sure to call attention to the person trying to talk. "What was that, John?" or something along those lines, to make sure everyone is heard.
Silent scan.
That awkward moment where you and somebody else try to let each other speak but you both try speak at the same time and just keep failing.
Silent scan.
Farting while coughing or sneezing. If you do everything at once, your body takes a screenshot.
Silent scan.
I'm not sure if everyone can relate to this, but one of the most awkward situation I've ever found myself in was being invited to meet my girlfriend's family, and over dinner her parents got into a massive fight.
Silent scan.
Calling your teacher mom. Especially if it's a male teacher.
Silent scan.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to get even more awesome content. Come on, it just takes 1 second.
Silent scan.
When you accidentally say "you too" after someone says something that isn't compatible with that statement and you just stare awkwardly at each other.
Silent scan.
When you're walking behind someone that has a slightly slower pace than you, so you start to pass them, but then have that awkward moment when you're walking next to them before you cut in front of them. Worse is when it's also a narrow corridor and you can see people coming towards you from ahead and you trying to do math to figure out if you'll be able to overtake the slow walker without running into those people like a car.
Silent scan.
When you're home alone, so you take a poop with the door open. Then you suddenly hear the front door of the house open. Always poop with the door open. Then the awkwardness is avoided.
Silent scan.
When you're next in line at the grocery store with your mom, and she leaves you to just get one more thing and the anxiety and awkwardness builds because you're up, and she's nowhere to be found. This happens me all the time when I'm shopping with my so. The anger I have for her when she does it is only matched by the relief when she gets back on time.
Silent scan.
You are surrounded by strangers, let's say a bus, no cell phone, no headphones. You remember a really stupid and funny thing and you start laughing. Congratulations, now everyone is looking at you asking why the fuck you're laughing.
Silent scan.
When you're at a self-serve place or retail store and presented a tablet that asks for a tip percentage. You know there shouldn't be a tip because there is no service aspect to it, but you feel obligated because there is a person watching you. When you get a haircut and it looks like shit, but you don't want to be rude, so you say it's good when they ask. Then they have the audacity to eye you down while you're staring at the tip tablet, wonder what the minimum amount you can give them without seeming rudies.
Silent scan.
Card declining. Equally as awkward on either side. When I worked in retail, I always tried to mitigate people's awkwardness by saying, "This card doesn't seem to be reading properly with our system. Is there another one you'd like me to try?" Because if their card was declined, they already know. I don't have to say that out loud.
Silent scan.
When you're pooping in a public restroom and you accidentally make eye contact with another person through the small crack.
Silent scan.
When you hold the door for someone, but realize that they're actually kinda far away, so they have to do the awkward skipping thing and you feel awful. Ah yes, the Canadian door hold.
Silent scan.
When you're in public and start to choke on something, but not a lot, so you can breathe a little bit, but you don't want to keep coughing too loud and get attention, so you roughly inhale through a piece of muffin in your throat with your face turning red and your eyes and nose dripping like you're a wreck. But really you just didn't ingest the muffin properly, so now you're embarrassed about choking on it and embarrassed about being embarrassed to choke on it and not coughing to begin with and instead choking slightly for 5 minutes. Happened to me at work yesterday.
Silent scan.
A variant of this conversation. "Hey. How's ya been?" "Good. How about you?" "I'm good, thanks, and you?"
Silent scan.
Going to greet someone from behind, only to have them not be the person you expected, and a complete stranger. I did this in a pub thinking it was my friend, only for them to be a complete stranger who also thought they knew me. Resulted in a few minutes of confused remarks and looks from both of us and their friends, until we finally realized we were both strangers and had never seen each other before. I left the pub as fast as I could and have never been back.
Silent scan.
I asked my fiancé's dad if I could marry her with the TV going in the background and a graphic sex scene started playing during our discussion. I didn't want to make it weird by shutting off the TV before asking, but I also didn't anticipate what ultimately showed up on the screen. We both went along like we didn't notice, but deep down we did. Life always finds a way to throw you curveballs.
Silent scan.
Seeing someone you know at the grocery store, and then having to awkwardly acknowledge them again and again down several aisles. Oh, hi again. Yeah, I did see those were on sale. Awesome. Buying Prego too, I see. Can't go wrong with Prego. FML.
Silent scan.
Awkward stare downs on public transport. When you feel someone watching, you stare back, look the other way, then sneak a quick peek to see if the other person is also looking, and you also notice them looking. I always feel like this is just as awkward for the other person who is probably thinking the exact same thing. What is this person looking at me for?
Silent scan.
Peeing your pants in the 3rd grade on a class field trip to the museum and saying it was water but none of the kids believing you and making fun of you for the rest of the year, ultimately leading to you having a fear of peeing your pants again. Hahaha, am I right guys?
Silent scan.
When you're having a conversation and think of a really funny joke, but then the conversation changes to a different topic, so you can't tell your hilarious joke, cause going back to that topic just to try to tell it would be weird.
Silent scan.
When someone clears their throat behind you and you're not sure if they are trying to get your attention or just clearing their throat. They clear their throat again and you finally turn around and you guys make eye contact. Now that person feels awkward for making you think they were trying to get your attention, so they fake cough a little and quickly realizes how much more awkward that was, given the whole situation with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. You don't want them to think you're ignorant and think they have the coronavirus, but still wonder if they do, and the other person thinks you now believe they have it, so you both just quickly scurry away from each other awkwardly.
Silent scan.
Taking a dump in your friend's house and then discover that you can't flush it because A. There's no water, or B. The mechanism is broken. The horror and shame of this event is just something we've experienced at least once in a lifetime.
Silent scan.
When you think you can just squeeze off a quick silent fart, but instantly you regret that decision when you feel warm water running down your leg. Your fart becomes a nasty shart.
Silent scan.
Congratulations, you reached the end of this awesome video. Now, like and subscribe, like we talked earlier, come on.
Silent scan.